people who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new live stream. We have a brand new president. Well, technically, we've had him before. We have him again. It's a very good thing we have him again. So encourage everybody to like the stream down below. We're only at 45 likes. You guys know what the rule is. We have to hit 100 or the face cam is not going to go on. But we have 180 live viewers. We have 54 likes. We're going to have a good stream tonight. Donald Trump is back. He's getting things done already, it seems. And there's a lot of work left to be done, of course. But still, he's got the power. Once again, he's got the executive power. He's going out there. He's doing everything he can do to, rescind a lot of Biden's executive orders, to enact as much of his agenda as he possibly can with the mere stroke of a pen. So we're going to be discussing that. We're also going to be discussing some of the recent polling with Trump's approval rating, including the poll that we conducted ourselves in association with SoCal Strategies that shows Donald Trump with an approval rating close to 60% among Generation Z, the Zoomers. We also are going to be talking about some of the other things that Trump has done and why this is just so important. You have a contrast between Trump and a lot of these other Republicans. It's not even close. The Republicans of years past and the things they've talked about or would not be able to actually get done when they're in office. Donald Trump is going out there and getting it done. So without further ado, I think we are going to turn the face cam on. We have hit our goal, 100 likes, and we're back. I was at the inauguration in Washington, D.C., although there was no inauguration, but it was a great time. And the number one takeaway that I have from the whole experience was probably the vibe shift. Because you're in Washington, D.C. It did not feel like you were in a blue city. It did not. Now, I know D.C. is still very blue, but keep in mind, it's socially acceptable for Trump supporters to congregate. I was there for one of the marches, not the infamous, January 6th protest, but the Million MAGA March back in 2020. And, obviously there were a lot of Trump people in the city, but there were a lot of protesters, the counter-protesters. It was not exactly all that safe, to be honest. You had a lot going on that year. You had a lot of Antifa. You had a lot of groups going at it. You had a lot of liberals, just very angry liberals shouting just because you're wearing a MAGA hat. There was none of that this time. One of the guys I was with was accosted by somebody 2 blocks away, yelling at him, calling him a race traitor because he happens to be Mexican. Well, check out the vote numbers on that and get back to me this election cycle. That doesn't really work anymore, which is kind of like, that's like the one instance of anything happening in a city that's very blue. It kind of shows that it's socially acceptable to support Trump now. Everywhere is Trump this, Trump that, Trump that. You go to the airport in Baltimore, they're selling Trump merchandise. And then there's a store, they sell both right-wing and left-wing merchandise. There's a little corner. They have the Kamala shirt, 75% off. It's like, okay, they should just send them to Africa at this point with the T-shirts of the Super Bowl losers that'll be sent to Africa. Everybody's seen those memes, but that's what they do. It's like nobody's going to buy these shirts. There's no point. Just ship them overseas if you have them pre-made. What's exactly the point? But the bottom line is the culture has changed. It's changed for the better. Donald Trump is back. He's in the White House, and you don't have this pushback. And in the culture, you're seeing what's happening. The left is exhausted. Is there like a, if you can't beat him, join him sort of thing going on? Because you look at his approval rating, when he first took office, it was below 50%. By and large. He might have had one day where he had a +2, and then it was way under for a while. But Donald Trump already out of the gate, he's getting things done. He's enacting some very, very conservative right-wing policies. He's being an unabashed nationalist on many fronts, trying to get rid of birthright citizenship, trying to do things the media would typically brand as controversial, but it doesn't matter. Donald Trump's approval rating so far, +13, according to SoCal/Red according to Insider, it's +17. Rasmussen, which was one of the most accurate polls this election cycle. They proved a lot of doubters wrong. Mark is doing great work over there. Approve plus 12. So out of the gate, you look at the approval rating. Donald Trump is having a very strong honeymoon period, a bigger one than Joe Biden got after the 2020 election, a much, much bigger one than he got after the 2016 election. There really was no honeymoon. You'd have to go all the way back to Obama in 2009 when people really wanted change because of the whole Great Recession ordeal where he had an approval rating in the 60s for a while. But keep in mind, we were much, much less polarized in 2009 than we are in 2025. So the fact that Donald Trump is going out there and he's enacting as much of his agenda right off the bat as he possibly can, and you see his numbers surging into new highs, that should tell you something. That should tell you the vibe has changed. That should tell you the culture is changing. This is not the previous Trump term. And there's much less of a mandate for these weak Republicans to sit up there and obstruct his agenda. And many of them still will, by the way. And we're aware of that. You're seeing what's going on with some of these confirmation hearings. Seems like Hegseth is going to get confirmed, but you have people in deep red states saying, I'm not going to confirm. It's ridiculous, but one thing we do know is that Donald Trump himself is going out there and he's doing what he needs to do. He's not listening to, the traditional political norms and orthodoxy. He's making sure that he can just do what he promised. He said, I'm going to free Ross Ulbricht, something that a very small portion of the population has been pulling for. I'm not saying it's not like super, unpopular, but you have a coalition of people that wanted to do it. Trump said, I will do it on day one. And he did it within the first 24 hours of his presidency. It's like not everything is going to be perfect. He's not going to push a button and the Russia-Ukraine war is over. But I think that given the fact that he's actually going to want to get to work on that, it's very likely within the first year you see some sort of deal done because that's who Donald Trump is. He's somebody who wants to go out there, get things done. He made promises. He kept the promises. And a lot of the people who were questioning his ability to lead in one way or another, a lot of them are saying, well, he's doing a good job. If people are critiquing the job he's done right now and they're claiming to be right wing, they really have to stretch the truth at this stage in the game because you had a lot of that in the primary. You had a lot of that even that lasted through the general election campaign season. It was a mix of Trump can't win and if Trump wins, he's not going to be a strong leader who gets things done. Already, not only did he win, not only did he give the Republicans their biggest victory at the presidential level in 36 years, and he won the popular vote, something Republicans thought they may never do again, he's going out there and he's getting a lot of things done. We covered that in our last video, but the just getting rid of DEI, making sure he can do what he can do to shrink the bureaucracy in the federal government as much as possible. It's not entirely, he's not getting everything done on day one. You can't. There's a limited amount of time in the first day. I mean, he was doing events, interview. And people said this guy is old, he's washed, he can't do it anymore. It's no, he's doing it. He had a very eventful day on the inauguration day. He was going from ball to ball. I was at one of the balls. The Liberty one, he was there, he spoke, he was signing executive orders in the meantime, and he's talking to the press, talking to the media, doing interviews, more interviews than Biden's really ever done during his presidency. You can't compare the two. Anybody who tries to sit back and compare these two is just downright crazy. And the Overton window has shifted. The left, they've just hammered this guy from the moment that he stepped down that escalator, had a favorable rating in the 20s. Nobody took him seriously at the time. Very few people did. And the people that did, a lot of people didn't like him at the time. But then he fought. He won in 2016 against all odds. He outperformed in 2020. And 2024, he came back and he won and made his mark in history. And now he has to cement that legacy over the next 4 years. And so far, he's doing a good job of it. But also, the political climate, the number one thing that Trump has arguably done, besides any actual accomplishment, because, it is true that he's done plenty and he will do plenty, but it's how he's reshaped the electorate. And there's no chance in hell a Republican was going to win Michigan before Trump came along, or some portion of the Hispanic voters, almost a majority of them, or winning younger voters. But Donald Trump did that. Donald Trump flipped it on its head. When he first took office, he had an approval rating among Generation Z. Now, granted, it were the older Zoomers, which might be a little bit more liberal, but he had an approval rating in the mid-30s. Now he's got an approval rating that rivals 60%, only 31%, not even a third disapprove. And this is our own poll, which has leaned a little bit more to the left, actually. Not always fond of the results it gets, and sometimes I've been right on calling out the red flags in such samples. But that's not the point. The point is that it's an accurate pollster. If you look at the national polling that we conducted, it was right on the money, and all the issues matched up with all the accurate exit polls, and had Trump winning the popular vote by 1, which he won by a little bit more than that. But still, the fact is that it's showing him plus 27 among Generation Z, younger voters. Democrats said, Republicans are going to all die out and we're going to take power forever. Yeah, that's not happening. That's not happening. Republicans are doing well with Generation Z, mainly young men. And Democrats don't know how to counter because they just don't have a direction. They've embraced wokeness. They keep doing it. Apparently, Elon Musk throws his hand out at the air, 60-degree angle. They're saying he's a Nazi of sorts. Like, that was the scandal they took away from the inauguration. It's like people are numb to this. Like, people back in the day might actually freak out about something, but it's like, okay, some guy throws his hand in the air. How many times have we seen Biden or AOC or any of these political figures on the left make a Roman salute-esque gesture? A lot of people have. But people actually think that Elon doing it is some sort of scandal. Because I don't know, they're saying, he's signaling to these people, he's a white supremacist, whatever. It's not true. Nobody cares. Go back to 2020, go back to, 2016. It's a new political climate. You don't get to sit here and call names. People aren't stupid anymore. We saw that on November 5th. I was worried a little bit, but the American people did pull through, and we did pull through as well. And Donald Trump won, and he's also captured the support of Generation Z, kind of how Reagan did with Generation X. Seems like we have this, recurring theme throughout history over and over again. People are wondering, is this party going to go extinct? And it's like, no, they're actually gaining with young voters. I think older voters are not very malleable. They're set in their ways, even if they're more moderate on the left or, more, I guess you would say, neocon friendly on the right. It doesn't matter. They still vote the way that they typically vote. And we saw that, which is why an older state like Wisconsin is going to not move as much as a younger state like Texas or parts of Arizona, for example. And you could even see it within Arizona, where some of the older areas have more retirees didn't move much. Maybe Trump gained a hair, but then he really ran it up in Tempe and in South Phoenix and West Phoenix. And, a lot of voters are moving right with age, as I predicted, and we're kind of seeing that happen overall. And Donald Trump and his agenda are popular. The America First Republican agenda is popular, not the traditional weak, spineless Republican agenda. And you had so many of those people who were actively trying to sabotage Trump, including someone like the pro-life camp. And we saw this happen today as well, which is huge. Donald Trump went out there and granted pardons to the peaceful pro-life protesters prosecuted by the Biden administration who were just protesting, exercising their First Amendment rights. So he's going... Okay, I don't know what happened there. But in the movement itself, you had a lot of people that were anti-Trump simply because he wouldn't push the boundaries on abortion because, national bans are just not popular. Donald Trump made it a winning issue, actually, because he's like, we'll leave it up to the states. You name it, these people want to have it at the, third trimester. And it's true. The media lied about it, and they lied about Tim Walz's position. But, everything Trump said was factually correct. And now it seems like you see Trump going in there. Action speaks louder than words. And he is doing everything he can feasibly do on abortion. I'm sure he's going to rescind the Mexico City policy when he gets a chance as well. But granting pardons to these people, he helped defeat Amendment 4 in Florida. He overturned Roe v. Wade, and people are saying it's not enough. It's not enough. It's because you have people that like to grift for a while. The talking heads in that movement, they like to have that grift, the issue. And then when Roe v. Wade gets overturned, they don't know what the hell is going on. And sometimes they just decide to direct their anger at somebody who plays his cards right on the issue. It's like if you ran with the perfect moral position on the topic, you're not going to win. And the American public is not ready for that. And you could say that's a problem, but what are you going to do in the meantime? to exactly change people's minds, to change the conversation, well, you need to make sure that you're able to get as many subtle wins as possible, shift and honestly, this election victory took a lot of ammunition out of the Democrats on the topic, because they really thought they could only run an abortion and win. But when Trump went out there and ran the campaign he did, it's like, yeah, the whole conversation shifted, because their whole narrative about it just changed. And I wonder if you'll see that energy factor shift in future elections, depending on how Republicans want to go about it. But you did have a lot of people saying, I couldn't vote for Trump because X, Y, and Z, a lot of terminally online people. And then you see Trump going out there, and the action speaks louder than the words at times. And a lot of things that he went out and said he would do, like declassifying the JFK, RFK, and MLK files, seems like he's actually going to do it. He's authorizing it. I don't know when it's going to be released, but this is something, he partially did the JFK files in the first term. He didn't fully do it. Now he's like, I don't care, I'm just going to do it. And his friendship with RFK Jr. likely is playing some sort of a role in his willingness to do it. But he made those promises to those libertarians. A lot of them said, I would never support him because, I don't know, they try to make the perfect the enemy of the good, and you see what happens. But either way, when you get the good in there, you get a lot of wins. That's what really you have to do. It's a coalition. There's no reason to vote for a third party that's not going to go anywhere, that's not going to do anything. This whole my principles stuff sounds good in theory, makes you feel good about yourself for a little while, but then what does it actually do? Nothing, because we need leadership that gets things done. Donald Trump is somebody that can go out there, and he's been out there, he's got things done, and he's doing it again, and there's a lot more he needs to get done. It's not going to be entirely perfect. How many miles is the border? Like 3,000? If he builds, 2,000 miles of wall, that's a lot better than the 500 new and replacement wall he built in term one. Now he has more of a mandate to do it. He's probably going to go out and do it. And, if he doesn't fully fill everything in 100%, it's still a massive win. Of course, you want to get as much done as possible. It's ridiculous that it's not like something we can't just set aside, $20 billion or whatever we need to set aside for, especially with the crisis that we have at the border. But it's like, yeah, it's easy. It'll stop a lot of crossing in certain areas. Just get it done. And the Overton window has shifted. Back in the day, the Republicans said, that's a radical idea. We don't need a wall. It's a vanity project. Now even Democrats are forced to say, yeah, border security, border security. It's meaningless hot air when they say it, but it shows that the Overton window has indeed moved. It is indeed shifting, and I think it's a very, very good thing that it's shifting. So by the way, for Super Chats, guys, make sure we can hit our goal. $9.99 and above. If we get 20 of those, I will stream on Sunday night. I want to stream on Sunday. We're almost there. We're 7 out of 20. So again, keep that in mind. But I saw this tweet earlier, and this is true because you talk about the Republican Party changing. The old guard is gone. Mike Pence is gone. He's been replaced by J.D. Vance, who, again, like Trump, is receptive to the base. Vance went on Fox News. He said, we'll pardon 1/6ers on a case-by-case basis. The base said, JD, we want everything. We just want a blanket pardon because of what the other side has done. And Vance was the one that heard that and pressured Trump to make sure he would just blanket pardon all the 1/6ers. And he listened to the base. They didn't, some parts of the base didn't like that, but he listened. A lot of people don't listen. Mike Pence, you think Mike Pence cares what the base has to say, what the grassroots has to say? No. But the party that answers to their base is going to be the party that's going to dominate the landscape of politics for years to come. And Donald Trump has been more receptive than most. When he takes stances, he gets pressure, he changes his tune. He's done it with the vax to an extent. He's done it with H-1Bs to an extent. And then you see this here, this very knowledgeable tweet saying, I want you to imagine a President Mitt Romney, Mike Pence, or Jeb Bush pardoning J6 defendants, revoking birthright citizenship, which probably isn't going to stand immediately, but it's important to continue that conversation because so many people just don't understand what the hell the 14th Amendment says. Deploying the military to the southern border or authorizing mass deportations, all within 3 days. You couldn't see them doing it. You couldn't see him running on it. You couldn't see him winning. You couldn't see him executing it because every single one of these guys would say, this goes against the principle. This isn't going to win. It's a political third rail, but all those things are relatively either popular or people don't care. Like technically pardoning all the 1/6 people doesn't poll well. But so many people just don't care to the point where it's not a third rail to touch. That's the issue. Like a national abortion ban, yeah, third rail, even if it polls the same as the pardoning of the 1-6 defendants. But the people that actually care about it will vote on it. That's your core base. You can't stab your base in the back. You have to give them something, and you're seeing what's going down. The consultants in the inner circle would have ostracized anyone on the right. And honestly, even Trump's first term, you had a lot more old guard people in there. But arguably, you could say the best thing to happen for the American right and for Donald Trump in this country was the 2020 election and the fallout, because what it did is it woke a lot of people up in the first couple of years of the Biden administration. And on top of it, it made Trump realize who his true, real friends are, so he could build a more competent, more loyal, because loyalty matters, circle around him to come back and govern for 4 years and get a Republican trifecta as a result, because you didn't have that. If Trump barely got by, you wouldn't have had the Republican trifecta, most likely. You would have had a Democrat House majority, maybe a little bit narrower than what we saw from 2018 to 2020. And then 2022 might have been brutal, especially if Roe was overturned under Trump. It possibly could have led them to mix that fundraising and energy with like the whole resist crowd at the time. It would not have necessarily gone down in the best way. Obviously, be better off as a country right now with Trump over the past 4 years. The economy likely would be better. You wouldn't have all these foreign conflicts and insanity. But if we're talking about righting the ship in full, it's like instead you're just doing just a good enough job to buy time. This is, an actual transformational presidency that is already underway that we're seeing, and it's very, very impressive to see overall. So we're 21 minutes in. I feel like we've covered all the bases. I want to get to the questions from the people. We've got super chats I want to get to as well. We have plenty of those. And if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns for me, feel free to send them in via super chat as well. I will get to all of them during the stream. We have 700 live viewers. Like the stream. Let's get to 400 likes. And we will get to the super chats after my quick water break. Okay, we'll start off with Michael in North Carolina. Thank you for the 10. Johnny Heartdog, who is not kicking off the stream this time, but is pretty close, says the media and other pundits, both liberal and conservative, are saying Vivek got booted out. I don't think that's the case. I think he just moved on, and they're trying to create a rift between Vivek and Trump. I don't know what's going on. I know he might run for governor. I don't even know. It's hard to read the relationship between him and Trump. There might be a vibe of a little bit of a distrust. I feel like Trump kind of did put him in Doge with Elon working as like the understudy instead of like a more prominent cabinet position, which would be a little bit more hands-on. I'm not sure why that is. But there may be some truth to the fact that Trump's not like the biggest fan of Vivek overall. But I have mixed feelings. I've always had mixed feelings on Vivek. I think that he says a lot of great things. I think he also has said a lot of things I don't agree with. For example, when he basically stupid, I was not really a big fan of it. Was it, slightly maybe taken out of context? It still looked pretty bad. But I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to create a rift. I don't know what rift exists already. But I'm sure that everything will get sorted out. I know Trump and Elon are still close together, even though there may be disagreements. And you're also seeing the whole H-1B argument that we discussed and we covered, especially during the Christmas break, was now you're talking about Trump is repatriating a lot of people who overstayed their visas back to India that were on these H-1Bs. And on top of it, you have people that are having these discussions in Trump's administration. So you have people, they're trying to find the common ground compromise, which is likely going to be a reforming of the H-1B system, which will benefit Americans regardless. Hopefully you could lower the number as much as possible. That's true. But if there could be some common sense reform that can put America first in the process, that'd be ideal. And those conversations happening, well, they're moving the ball in the right direction. So can't complain about that. But also Johnny Heartdog for 10. This is just a fun video, but to also make people think, how about an election of Fetterman v. Vance at a situation where Republicans totally drop the ball in the House and Senate? Well, I don't know how that would go. If Fetterman is even, Democrat in 2028. He might just pull a cinema, move to independent. Maybe he won't even run for re-election, cite health concerns or something like that. Or maybe he wants to run for re-election. I don't think he's presidential material. The guy still has a speech impediment. It's not as bad as it was right after the stroke. But, you don't really recover from those things at that level, in full. At least not, a full recovery to the point where it's like, oh, he's going to be a public speaker. Because he was never really a good public speaker before the stroke. And it's like, you want to be a senator from Pennsylvania, that's one thing. You want to run in a primary for president as a Democrat. You think you can win when you're going to be buddy-buddy with Trump for these 4 years. It's like, I don't know. Maybe he could win re-election for Senate. I don't think he'd run as a Democrat for president. I don't think he'd run as a Republican for president. Even if he does switch parties, he could run for re-election. He'd probably win in a landslide if he was going to truly embrace the Republican brand. But I'm skeptical. I'm not saying that I fully am not going to take the wins. I'm not going to say that Fetterman is somebody that I fully trust either. I really can't trust him as far as I can throw him. And you can't throw that guy. He's 6'9", 400 pounds. But what can I say? Let's see. Johnny again for 10 says Trump is on fire, getting lots done, and it's looking good for his appointments too. Let's hope the House and Senate keep it up and don't drop the ball. I want to be optimistic. Yeah, I mean, if the House does its job, they could expand their majority in the midterms. Now, are they going to do that? Probably not. But you never know. I hope they do. I'm not rooting for the Republican establishment to fail and screw over Trump. They need to support him. I want them to support him. I don't trust him, but I want them to do the right thing. I think there's kind of a little bit of a distinction there. Mike Johnson, again, somebody that is a mixed bag, but if he's going to cave to the president like he did for the past year, well, that's a good thing because Trump is now the president. We'll see where it goes, but, I have hopes, maybe not the highest hopes, but there are hopes there. It's not like it's 2017. Dealing with Ryan and McConnell. I mean, Thune is not much better than McConnell, but he has shown some sort of affinity for Trump in a certain way, which is good. But still. XJ Cherokee Bear says his popularity with Gen Z ticks off Harriet Sisson. Well, I think Harry Sisson is partially what's driving up the support for Donald Trump among younger people because they see these liberals, the caricatures. I mean, these are people propped up by the DNC. They see these people, the most unpalatable people you could imagine. They prop them up. They're their paid shills, and then it's like, oh, well, then this person has to be, the I guess you would say the Democrat outreach for the generation. That's going to turn people away from the Democrats. I mean, that's just how it works. They're tripping over themselves. They're stepping on a rake by promoting these people. But no self-respecting, actually, masculine man is going to want to join the Democrat Party at this point. And they have really a problem working on that. And whenever they try to solve the problem, it gets 30,000 times worse. BRGRS for 20 says it's great to have Trump back in office. Harry Sisson is not handling it. Well, of course not. And you could tell. These people have had these tweets. They're paid off. All these accounts are paid. They're paid to tweet certain things. They don't have independent thoughts. They don't. That's just how it works. They're not like us. Maybe we should be paying more, but we should be, Okay, I don't know what's going on. Are we back? I think we're back. We should be good. But basically what I'm saying is if you want to pay influencers on the right, I think it's a good thing if you could legally do it and it's possible. But then again, they'd have to have some sort of independent reign of thought, unlike what we see on the other side. Johnny Hartdog says, we'll get to that one later. We skipped a few. Okay, let's see. Ice Cream Junkie says AOC's IQ is like Harry Sisson's testosterone levels negative. M. Skywalker 07 says, would you ever debate? So you guys asked 4 questions about this guy in a row. I don't know. Would I debate? I think it's a waste of time. But it's not like, if I say no, then everyone's like, oh, you're afraid to do it. It's like, I have better things to do. If he wants to reach out and debate me, I'd consider doing it. I think it would be entertaining. But I'm not a debate bro. I think debates online are pointless. I think they just try to, they're just clout grabs for people. by and large. You know, if you go to a public forum with an influencer on the left and you have like a debate format and you're there in person together and it's put on by some like third party organization, that's a little bit different. I mean, I've seen a few people do that, and it's a better format, and I'd be more willing to do it. You know, maybe donate the proceeds of the tickets to like charity or something like that. It could actually be good. But otherwise, it's just like, oh, one side's going to say, oh, we won. The other side's going to say, no, we won, because people just like to go along with what they hear, and the online environment is just super polarized, and it's just not productive. So, Kevin Daly, thank you for the 2. Johnny Hartog for 20. Says, my sister's a teacher in Alaska. Sadly, she's witnessed children of illegals being taken from parents while others leaving with their parents. Yes, both scenarios is happening. Thank you, Biden. Blame him, not Trump. It's really heartbreaking, but it needs to happen. And again, it's Biden's fault. They need to go. Well, exactly, because people break the law. They come into the country and then they whine about getting thrown out. It's like you broke the law. Any serious country is going to do that. You cannot allow yourself to become a doormat for the rest of the world. You know, you can't have people breaking in your house at night and, you know, you try to arrest them and call the cops and then you're the bad guy. It's not how it works. It's just not. You know, these people are breaking the law. They need to go. It's common sense. I don't know why mass deportations were ever considered like unpopular. They're not. And of course, Trump needs to act and make sure it gets done for sure, because you can't like drop the ball on that, because it's such a winning issue now, and you have the political capital to get it done. Red Whale Politics for 10 says, I saw your post on X clowning the DeSimpson black pillars, and I have to say everything you say is true. They want the country to fail. They can't understand we can walk and chew gum. Well, that's 100% accurate. You have people that are just rooting for Trump to fail because they want to be proven right. And it's like, even if you don't fully buy, even if you're not willing to fully buy in, that's one thing. But rooting for him to fail is not the answer. It's not. I can understand. Look, people on the left do it. People are going to say, well, you know, that's horrible. And it's not good. But at the end of the day, it's politics. But the fact you have people on the right that are just wanting him to fail so they could be proven right, they're just gross people. They're not actually people that are moving the conversation in the right direction. They don't care about the country. It's like, if you don't trust the guy, but you're still rooting for him and you'll give him props, it's fine. But if you're going to be one of these people that says, no, he's horrible, you know, and somehow twist yourselves into a pretzel and sound like a resist lib in the process, no, those people need to go. They can join the other side where they'll be welcome with the anti-Trump hate mob. That's the way it goes. Real Texan Politics says, Andy Ogles introduced a resolution amending the 22nd Amendment to allow Trump to seek a third term. What are your thoughts? It's not going to happen. It's fun to think about, but at the end of the day, you know, Trump's going to be, 86 by the end of his third term, 86, 87. I don't think he wants to run in 2028. He's going to be, I mean, he's very high energy. That's true. I don't think he'll ever go away as long as he's alive, and he'll have some influence in the political sphere. But I think that he is going to pass the torch, pass the baton. I think that's why he chose somebody like a Vance as his VP, somebody that's younger, that shares his vision, instead of picking like a, you know, Doug Burgum type of guy who's like a tech guy, but not like one of those tech guys that's like, you know, innovative. He's just like a you know, oligarch type of guy who's boring, bland, you know, good Secretary of the Interior, but, you know, that's about it. So he chose a winner. He chose somebody who has potential to take the party to the next level and to be that successor. And it's just true. And we'll see what happens in the future. But that's why it's important Trump does well, so, you know, the party moves in his direction, because if they keep posting wins, and let's say 2026 is a good year for Republicans somehow, it's like, well, you can't really deny that Trump is a net force of positive on the Republican Party. Because you have a lot of people, when Trump wins, they'll say, oh, it's the other side's failure. It's not Trump's benefit. And it is the other side's failure, but Trump is a unique position of influence over the voter base. And whenever he's on the ballot, you see it. Whenever he's off the ballot, Democrats still get decent turnout, but then they hit a wall in these presidential years. The only way they didn't is 2020, when they had an inflated election, the bloated electorate. Red Whale Politics is also your tweet calling out the electability bros and black pillars in the governor race in Arizona is a perfect example of why the GOP would keep on losing if they listened to the principal people. Yeah, I don't understand. So you have a non-controversial, generic Republican who's solid on the issue, a Freedom Caucus guy, running for governor in Arizona, which is a much redder state than it was in 2022, a much redder state than it was in 2020 by every single metric. And Andy Biggs is somebody that can get out the, more, I guess you would say more traditional Republicans who might not like a Kerry Lake type, but also can get out like the MAGA base, for example. But Karen Taylor Robeson has a lot of skeletons in her closet. She's extraordinarily overrated. She's the reason why Kerry Lake was in the position she was in, because she ran a kamikaze campaign against her. When she just would have bowed out like a lot of these other people like you were doing, then Lake would have been, she easily would have cruised. Primary would have won the general easily without any shenanigans impacting the outcome. But instead you have this situation and you see what's going on. So she's the reason why Republicans don't have the governorship in Arizona. Now she's trying to buy it. And she's got a lot of skeletons in her closet. She scammed elderly people, including her husband, by the way. He was like 95. I don't know how that happened. She's like 50. She's most likely, allegedly, screwing around on him with people probably half her own age, for all we know. But that's just how it works. She's, crazy. You have all this crazy skeletons in her closet. People want to talk about weird, unappealing, but they don't want to look at that because, she ran against Kerry Lake and Kerry Lake didn't cross the finish line. So therefore they think she's electable. It's like, no, I don't think that's how it works. Biggs is somebody who's, I have questions about his ability to fundraise, but I don't think that he's too controversial to win. He's very generic Freedom Caucus member. The same people that wanted Ron DeSantis to become president are now saying, and when he won in a Trump midterm in 2018 in a much then bluer state in Florida than Arizona is red, but DeSantis is fine. But Andy Biggs, no, he's bad because I don't know. These people, they oppose MAGA. They oppose the actual, an actual authentic brand of the American right that we have in the Republican Party. That's what it comes down to. Karen Robeson's a pushover. Run Ducey again. Why not just run Ducey? At least Ducey, they say Ducey's an electoral juggernaut. Why not just run Ducey? Why do you have to run this woman who lost to Kerry Lake in a primary despite outspending her 11-1? They trashed Kerry Lake all day, calling her a horrible candidate, but you couldn't even beat the horrible candidate in a primary, in a more like what you call a neocon state when you outspend her 11-1. It's like Biggs is maybe you want to say a compromise candidate, but he's just more of a mild-mannered guy. I don't see a problem with Biggs. He's very conservative, but he's not like controversial in a way that's going to be off-putting to a lot of voters in Arizona. He doesn't have like a polarizing, abrasive personality, but Karen Taylor Robeson, she does. But apparently I'm the bad guy. Oh, you said this in 2022, so we can't trust you or listen to you. It's like, why don't you just go... I'm not going to say the rest. We're going to try to keep it clean, guys, but I think you can read between the lines. These people never learn. They never learn. I learn. That's the thing. I learn, but they don't learn. They take the wrong lessons. The same people said Trump never had a chance and that he was going to lose North Carolina and then maybe even Iowa because of that one fake poll that anybody could. That's when I knew Trump was going to win. The poll that came out of Seltzer just reconfirmed my confidence in Trump's victory because that's how bad it was. So Alex says people need to remember it's only day 4. Exactly, it's only day 4. Luke J. Gagnon for 10 says, would you be willing to endorse Hilario De Leon for re-election as Milwaukee GOP chair? He's under attack from the establishment GOP in a state who is trying to unseat him. Sure, I'll endorse him if that's the case. I don't know much about him. I know there's a Supreme Court election coming up that's very important out of the state of Wisconsin. Christian says the Democrats are going to look stupid when Trump doesn't become a dictator. Well, I mean, at this point, if he became a dictator, his approval rating probably would go up because he'd be more effective. He'd be enacting his agenda. And that's the thing. When he says dictator on day 1, well, he was, to an extent. And that's a good thing because you're just signing executive order. You're making sure you can take the country back. We need strong leadership. It doesn't mean he's going to overthrow whatever the left likes to say, overthrow democracy. It just means he's going to rule with an iron fist as much as he can. Abraham Lincoln they call a dictator. They call how many presidents that are effective presidents a dictator? Some are probably, have more consequential for the better. Some are more consequential for the worse. But, there's very few presidents who were anti-dictators in effect that people look at in history and say they were a good president. Maybe Calvin Coolidge comes to mind, but it was kind of a little bit of a different time. But even then, look what he did with immigration. I mean, he basically made sure that we shut down the border, had a full moratorium on immigration for about 41 years until the Hart-Celler Act foolishly was passed. But that's how it goes. Let's check the live chat again. We have more super chats. Splice Stream says, help, I'm tired of winning, drowning in W's. Well, hopefully, we get a lot more. It's good that, you have the honeymoon to an extent. You get in there, you sign these executive orders. That's great. There is a problem because you need to make sure that they're codified into law, because executive orders can be reversed by the next Democrat president, and there you go. So Trump needs to make sure that he gets Congress to act and pass these bills that enact his agenda. You'll get no taxes on tips. You permanently extend the Trump tax cuts because they're set to expire. I don't want my taxes to go up. Doesn't really matter what income bracket you're in. They're likely going to go up if you don't extend the Trump tax cuts, which were foolishly not permanent from the Paul Ryan Congress. So he needs to make sure those get extended, permanently extended. M. Skywalker 07 for 10 says, 2 questions. Will Virginia be purple in the next couple elections? And can people calm down about the Musk thing? Literally, Kamala, Obama, and others did the same movement, but no media goes after. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, let's say he did throw up a, what do they call it, a Roman salute of sorts as like a happy gesture. Does intent not matter? Obviously, the optics are weird, they're wacky, people are going to make those comparisons, but I don't know why people are acting like, oh, Elon's a horrible, even the ADL, the one of the worst watchdog hall monitor leftist organizations is going out there and saying, this is not, this was not done in Nazism or whatever. So even those people are going out there and saying that Elon wasn't doing anything that even they viewed to be wrong. But apparently so many lunatics in the media actually believe it. It's like, okay, do you think Elon Musk is a secret supporter of Nazism or something like that because he, pulled up or put his hand up in the air at 60 degrees? That's not how it works. It's not how it works at all. And people can see through it now. Back in the day, you probably wouldn't see that happen. But as for Virginia, I don't know. Northern Virginia is turning a corner, but I don't know how much more room Republicans have to grow there, and how much room do Democrats have to grow in the the Richmond suburbs or the Virginia Beach area where they've surprisingly done better lately. Mike Griffin says, will Trump end diversity visas and chain migration? Hopefully so. I mean, it's day 4, so there's a long way to go. But ideally, you would see that. Chain migration is huge. You end that, you significantly cut down on a lot of immigration out of the gate. People bringing over their cousins, their second cousins. It creates a chain, a domino effect. We don't exactly believe that that's real meritocracy. If you have a very limited amount of immigration, immediate family is one thing, but then if you extend it and extend it and extend it in full, chain migration does become a problem. And so does birthright citizenship, where you have people that just come into the country to have a baby illegally, but the baby's a citizen, and then they get funding from the government, and it's not a good look. America's just getting walked all over for the sake of principles, because people don't understand, A, how to read the 14th Amendment, and B, the intent behind the 14th Amendment, which should be what we're determining this factor. It was written for... It's not meant for that. Flying over Nebraska and having a baby when you're not an American citizen should not exactly grant you the ability to raise your kid in the country off the government's dime. It shouldn't. I don't think that shouldn't be controversial. It's common sense. How many countries in the world don't have it? They don't have birthright citizenship. A lot of them don't. Purple Potato says, guess DeSantis and the Lions both choked to a JD. Well, if you're talking about the VP race, I don't think DeSantis was ever in the VP race, but I think Tim Walz would have been a better fit for the joke. But Yeah, the Lions are. It's tough to process. It's really tough to process. Like, you have everything going right all year, and then you get your season ended at home by a rookie quarterback. It's painful, especially to watch in the opposing team city, which is what I had to do. Finally popped my hemorrhoid for 2, says feeling good having ice on speed dial again, MAGA. And Trump also got rid of the app that all the Haitians came in and downloaded and got asylum. So that's another win. You know, it's not talked about a lot, but that's another victory out of the gate. You have so many people that say, well, no, Trump and Harris are the same. Yeah, they're not. Like I said, you might not like everything Trump does. He might not be perfect, but he's not the same as Harris. That is just objectively untrue. Harris, it'd be hell. I mean, she'd be doubling down. They would have viewed that as a mandate victory. Oh, look, we ruined the country for 4 years and we ran a horrible campaign and we still won. Let's dig deeper. We'll never lose an election ever again, they'll say. Now the opposite is not entirely true, but there's reason to believe that Democrats are screwed long term because the Senate map doesn't look good for them. They'll likely never have a trifecta again until the 2040s or so. And on top of that, it's like the presidential map in the 2030s. 2028 is a make or break year for the Democrats because if they can't win then, they may never win until 2040. But even then, the map could be even worse. But either way, the party's going to have to adapt. But even if the Democrats adapt and manage to win an election in the future, it kind of showcases the Overton window shifting to a point. So is that the end of the world? Not entirely sure. But they're going to have to severely change their party. But they're too arrogant. Wokeness is not going to, I mean, like, what are they going to root it out? They're not going to win that way either. But Sven Olsen says Trump's favorables in New Jersey are in the positive by a plurality. According to Emerson, do you think Republicans stand a chance? They do. I think they stand a chance in New Jersey. Depends on the candidates they run. Depends on if they can get that turnout up and if Trump remains popular. I mean, the governor's approval matters a lot more for those. But if it's like an open race, yeah, if you have Trump going there, maybe he'll do another rally in Wildwood, is it? Wherever that beach town is that he likes to go to. He got 100,000 people. That's pretty cool. But Johnny Hartdog says, here's a question for you. What irritates you more, liberals with TDS or conservative Republicans with TDS? I know conservatives with TDS and talking to them is pointless. Yeah, they're more idiotic. You're right. Definitely. Now, the liberals are bad for other obvious reasons. But the conservatives with TDS, they don't really exist in real life in high numbers, for one. For two, they are just insufferable. It's like talking to people that vote straight ticket libertarian. You can't get through to these people. You know, it's like, what do you get out of that? You lose? You lose either way? At that point, just become apolitical or something. Because at least you'd be contributing to society, to the discourse in some other manner, in some other field. Red Whale Politics says, do you think Charlie Kirk helped a lot in the college towns? All right, we keep reconnecting. I don't know if you guys are experiencing that too. But the one thing I will say is that I think Turning Point Action, the work that they've done, yeah, we had a little bit of lag. But the action or the work that TP Action did, not just by having Charlie Kirk go to college campuses, but by making sure that they tap into that demographic and make sure those people get out and vote and make sure that those people become the ground game, because, you know, that's how the left has operated. They've had a lot of young people on their ground game. It's worked for them. We flipped the script on them. It now works for us. We're more competent people. We're more approachable people. We're more social people than the opposition, the other side. What does that entail? It entails we can go out there and win. We can go out there and be more effective, and that's exactly what we did. So I don't know if you're referencing like the videos he's done, the clips of him, you know, owning the libs on campuses or whatnot. But either way, he did, and his organization did have a major impact on the election in a positive way. So I will leave it at that, and that is a very good thing. Tommy C. says, it feels like there's a shift post-election. Do you think Republicans can gain House seats in the midterm? I mean, it's possible. I mean, the problem for Democrats in the House is A, Republicans probably gain a few seats in Ohio. B, they might try to redraw in Alabama, put another case up to the Supreme Court. Who knows how that's going to work out. But if they're able to get like 5 seats already out of the gate due to mid-decade redistricting, that would mean that they basically would go out there and have a higher floor. And then you have these Democrat, you have a lot of Trump Democrat House seats. Even if Republicans fall short in them, there's not a lot of House seats that voted for, Harris and that have a Republican in them. And even then, some of them might stay. So it just depends. A different electorate in a midterm year in some parts of the country can benefit you, like New York. Well, maybe not New York, but California, Texas, certain places. So there's a lot of room to grow. There is a lot of room to grow for Republicans. I don't think they're going to face devastating losses in the midterms. I do think that if things go south, that they probably lose the House. But at the end of the day, it's going to be likely close. The House is becoming less swingy, more polarized. Red Whale Politics for 10 says, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Trump get 40% with females between 18 and 29 compared to 36 back in 2020? Shows abortion's not everything, even among women. No, it's not. I mean, young women want jobs. They want, income. They want to, have more wages. They want strong borders in many cases. Not all. Very liberal portion of young women. I'd say many young women are very liberal, but there's still a sizable portion of young women who do have common sense, contrary to how the narrative is spun. It's like, oh, Republicans are going to lose all these women. It's like, well, they don't win them anyways, but at the end of the day, they're still going to get about 40%. And if young men are moving right, what's to say young women won't? I mean, it's mainly these millennial liberal women that are driving up the numbers for the Democrats. Sven Olsen for 10 says New Jersey. And by the way, those people always vote. The lower propensity women, they'd be more likely to go for Trump. Sven Olsen says New Jersey and Virginia tend to be bellwethers of a sort for midterm elections. If Republicans flip the governorship and Trump's approvals remain above water, will this be good news for the midterms? I don't know if they're the best bellwethers. I think that if they do flip the governorship, it's good news overall. But even then, I mean, those were good results in 2021. 2022 was a little disappointing. So I think there's a lot of factors at play. It's not like a 1-to-1 bellwether. But we have 5 more. If we get 5 more yellow super chats and above, I will stream on Sunday night. So we have until the end of the stream to get 5 of those. If you guys have any more questions, comments, we've got 700 people, 700 live viewers in chat as well. Make sure you guys end up liking the stream. Let's get to 500 likes if possible. We're at 425. Let's get to 500. And I will look in regular chat as well. I guess we could do that. We have a lot of people, but if you guys want to send in any super chats, those will be read for sure. Those will get priority. And it's just been a ride. I mean, all this time, he comes back, he's getting to work, he's getting things done. This is exactly what we wanted to see. Now, there's a long way to go. He's only, 4 days in, but it's been a very good, productive 3-4 days. It's not like he's just sitting there and he's caving on his agenda and he's watering it down like a lot of people may have anticipated. Very poorly so, very wrongly so. But it's hard to say that if you are on the right, it's hard to say that he's not doing what he promised, unless you just happen to fundamentally be opposed to everything he stands for, which means you belong on the other side. You don't belong on this side. You know, the whole 1/6 thing, some people say that that's controversial, that he wants to pardon people. It's like, how many people did Biden pardon? Yeah, people that were overcharged that are in jail, that Donald Trump pardoned and set free, versus Biden, who pardoned his son for obvious reasons, obvious corrupt business dealings. Why did the pardons go back 10 years, the same exact time frame? The whole Burisma stuff went down when all the shady stuff started to begin. Why exactly did that happen? Honestly, why do you think Merrick Garland raised the charges against Biden's son in the first place? So this is kind of be cover. I said it at the time. It's not a win. They're charging him for this gun charge. He probably shouldn't even be charged for it. It shouldn't be a law. It's unconstitutional. He should be charged for a lot of other things he did. but they're going to just let go. But Biden, he got to pardon his son for a blanket pardon, despite the fact that there's only one thing that he was actually being charged for. And on top of it, Fauci, the pardon that went back, Liz Cheney, Milley, all these scumbag people, deep staters in the government, they get these pardons. Why did they get pardons exactly? What did they exactly? I mean, you only need a pardon. They say you only need a pardon if you do something wrong. I mean, these people haven't even been charged. They haven't been looked into. What exactly are they covering up? Exactly. What are they covering up? These are important questions. Thomas Willingham says, when can we get Murkowski? Well, 2028, but they need to put ranked choice voting on the ballot again. They need to actually fund it properly, word it properly, get it off or vote it out so Murkowski can lose. I've never seen somebody change the rules so they can win and then try to say that it's, the lower 48 wants this seat. They're the ones literally funding your campaign. That's where you get all your money from. That's where this ranked voting initiative came from, all the lower 48. And they sit back here and say that that's a problem. Susan Collins gets a little bit of a pass because primarying her out's a waste of time. Maine is a blue state. Maybe it's not as blue as Maryland, but it's still pretty blue. Alaska's pretty red. It's more red than Maine is blue. But for some reason you have Lisa Murkowski, who's far worse than Susan Collins, mind you. It's not something that you exactly would want to have in your party. Democrats don't have a very, very conservative Democrat in Delaware. I mean, they get one who at least talks like one in Pennsylvania, who, got his brain power back and started to lean to the right. Funny how that works. But then they want to kick this guy out of the party, the same thing they tried to do and basically did to Sinema, who clearly was just grifting, and still she gets slammed. If she becomes an independent, she just rage quits the Senate. I mean, Democrats, people say Republicans are incompetent. They're not wrong, but the Democrats also are not. But at the end of the day, they still are ruthless, and they're not going to allow somebody like a Lisa Murkowski to exist in their ranks. They're not. You see that, even to the point where they become incompetent in the process. So, let's see. Mitchell Ryan says, why isn't the Supreme Court taking up any of these gun ban cases? I'm not sure. It's possible they will. John Vamvakas says, do you think the gravy train will finally end for you? I think the war is going to be settled. It probably will continue to be funded for a little bit before it gets settled. I don't know how Trump wants to play his bargaining chips. But ideally, you do see it end. You spend how much taxpayer dollars for a war that's not really winnable? Okay, we got our 16th from Sven Olsen. 4 to go, saying 2021 New Jersey failed to flip, Virginia did, and there was a red blip. 2013 New Jersey went red big. Virginia flipped blue, but Republicans had a red wave. They aren't a 1-to-1, but they matter. I think it shows the mood of the nation, the mood of the electorate. But again, we're a lower propensity party now. It's going to be harder to win these elections. Wisconsin's going to be hard to win. Doesn't mean we can't win it. If anything, the Democrats are just demoralized, or maybe we could exploit their demoralization for victory. Red whale politics. So we got 3 to go. He says the left's reaction to this election goes to show how brain dead they are and don't understand the future implications for the 2028 election. It could be devastating. Yeah. Go whine about Elon Musk for, having his hand in the air in a weird way. It's like the guy's socially awkward. He has spasms. It's just what happens, okay? Doesn't mean he's secretly signaling support to Hitler. You can look at clips of Biden doing the same thing. You could look at clips of Harris and Hillary Clinton, Obama, all the Democrats doing it. Nobody cares, but Elon does it, it's a problem. But, nobody cares at all, and if they want to die on these weird, strange hills, they're going to keep digging the hole. They're going to keep losing. They will. They don't know how to rebuild. It doesn't matter who they put as DNC chair. It could be the Wisconsin guy, it could be the New York guy. It doesn't matter. They have no direction. The competency that was there is fading, and they're out of touch with the new cultural zeitgeist, and they're really going to have to build a new bench out of thin air that doesn't have any baggage if they want to actually go out there and win. But who wants to join them at this stage in the game when Donald Trump is president and he's popular? I mean, I don't know if this is going to continue, guys. You're probably not going to see Trump's approval stay at plus 30. I mean, maybe you will, maybe you won't. It's a honeymoon period. But if you see it above water at all by the time the midterms roll around, Republicans are not going to suffer losses. Even if they narrowly lose the House, it's going to be like a neutral, it's going to be a reverse 2022. So we have 3 more super chats that we need to hit our goal. If you guys want to be generous and make sure that we can have a stream happen on Sunday night, we will do that. But we have limited amount of time before the goal officially ends. But it's good to be back. It's good to live stream. It's been a while. It feels like I haven't been streaming. I've been busy. There hasn't been a lot of content. But now there's a lot of content. There's a lot to cover. Donald Trump is back in the White House. He's doing things every day. People are energized again. We're seeing things unfold. A lot of people said, 2024 election content in January. So we're going to move away from that a little bit. We're also not going to be talking 2028 very much, but we will be talking about Trump's presidency and things that are going on. We'll touch base on polling, and obviously the midterms are going to be huge. That's more next year than this year. But it is kind of a down-off year. But there still is a lot to talk about when you have Donald Trump back in the White House. And we got our 18th. Thank you, Red Whale Politics, once again, saying in the future, if we lose Georgia, hopefully we can make it up with states like Virginia, New Jersey, and New Mexico if we do lose the Peach State by 28 or 32. I think that it's gonna be in flux. Georgia's in flux. It's not a state that is, in my opinion, looking good for Republicans. But do I think it's going to zoom left off a cliff and be unwinnable by 2028? Probably not. I think Republicans have a very good shot at sweeping the board there in 2026, including the Senate seat there. And that's how it works. Michigan's going to be interesting. You have Jocelyn Benson running for governor in 2026. Mike Duggan is an independent, and I don't know who Republicans are going to put up. But it does seem as if Michigan is winnable, just based on the dynamics of the race, if it stays the way it does between, the 3-way race. Wisconsin, I mean, if Evers runs for re-election, it's still going to be tough. Being incoming governor is easier after term 2 than it is after term 1. But still, in a Trump midterm, it's going to be interesting. It just depends on his approval, depends on the environment. But Republicans just need not to step on any third rails. If they avoid stepping on the third rails, they're going to be far better off. That's it. Don't come for Social Security. Don't try to repeal the healthcare system if you don't have a bill at all. Don't step on these third rails. Don't die on the hills not worth dying on, but actually die on the hills worth dying on. Mass deportations, get that done. That's popular. It's a very right-wing policy, but it's popular. They don't like the basic bitch conservatism from years ago. They want, bold America first conservatism, national conservatism, nationalism. It used to be a dirty word. It's not a dirty word anymore because, it's just reality. You have 2 options, globalism or nationalism. And even when we do have intervention, because, Trump is not an isolationist, Trump wants it to be focused on this side of the world. He wants Greenland. He wants the Panama Canal. He's going after things, and obviously Canada's more of a meme, but there is a grain of truth in that where we would like to have them stop ripping us off on trade and actually be the greatest. They should be the greatest ally overall. I mean, they're right next door. They share a lot. And I mean, there's no nation that's similar to the United States compared to Canada. Sometimes you get dropped off in Canada, it's probably going to take you a little bit longer than it would anywhere else to realize you're not in the United States. But it's like something needs to be done. We need actual leadership that wants to put the country first, and that's why Trump is so appealing. Mitchell Ryan says Illinois might be within 5 soon. Well, let's not get too ahead of us. But we'll see. But we need 2 more for 10 plus, and we will stream on Sunday. If not, we won't. But we can look in regular chat. Have I seen the Biggs KTR debate in Arizona? Every Arizona seat holder's behind Biggs. But yeah, KTR has money, and Trump didn't technically endorse her. That's the thing. He said run for governor. I don't think Trump knew Biggs wanted to run. Now, will Trump change his endorsement? I don't know. If we got a Vance v. Ossoff at 28, then how would... Look, it would depend on how Trump's presidency is viewed, how things shake out. I will say that Ossoff, I don't think, is going to win re-election. So I don't think he's going to be able to be the Democrat nominee when he can't even win re-election in a state that is zooming to the left. I think he's going to lose. Now, Roy Cooper and Tom Tillis, Tom Tillis might go down. I think if Democrats are going to break even, if any seat of those 3 they're going to win, I think North Carolina, they have possibly a decent shot because Tillis is not very good. And Cooper's overrated, but Tillis is not that strong of a candidate. That's why a primary challenge would actually make sense, because you could get somebody potentially better and also more electable. Every single time Tillis has won an election, he has not gotten, 48, 49%. He's never broke 49%. And he faced some pretty popular environments to run in. Last time he ran against a scandal-plagued candidate. The time before, 20 people showed up. So he's clearly got some problems. He's clearly overrated. Alex S. says Putin's demanding shipping. Fauci is a condition for Ukraine war negotiations. So funny. What's the point of them calling the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America? Well, it's I don't know. That's more of just like a look at us. We're America. It's our Gulf. It's not the Gulf of Mexico. Either way, it's not one of those things that I think it's kind of funny, obviously, but it's not like one of those things where I'm just like, oh, this needs to be done. Greenland, I think, is actually a really great investment. I think Mount McKinley, I grew up, it was always Mount McKinley. They changed it out of political correctness. Trump changes it back. He said he would do that in 2015. During his first term, he finally got it done, which is great. Next, we need to return to normal, the actual return to normal. Nature will heal. We need the Washington Redskins back with the old logo. We need the Cleveland Indians back with the old logo as well, because the era of woke is over, and we need to actually cement that. When that happens, it's over. That'll cement who's on the right side of history, who's on the wrong side of history. The left in 2020 was unhinged. They lost their collective mind, and so many people didn't even realize it because they were too glued to their screens during a pandemic where, they were buying the nonsense because of certain, videos that were edited that would get posted of police interactions. They just threw reality out the window. And we're still cleaning up the mess. Sven Olsen for 10 says, once the economy is no longer an issue, I think women, especially young women, swinging back on abortion when preferential treatment is what you're used to, equality feels like discrimination. I just think abortion is going to be less of an issue overall. States are voting on it. It's going back to the states. Certain states are going to set their own limits and whatever. I really think it's becoming a state issue, especially after this election, when it's fresh in the media. It's fresh in the news. Roe v. Wade overturned. Dobbs v. Jackson's law of the land, but it's like it's going to stay that way. You're never going to see abortion probably for the foreseeable future officially go away, and you're probably not going to see it ever, in terms of Roe v. Wade, you're not going to be able to codify it into law or ban it nationwide. You're not, for better or worse. So I think that the pro-life movement itself needs to take another direction in order to get things done and sway public opinion. Bans sound good. Well, bans sound scary to the median voter. The median voter is not exactly that politically inclined, and they like certain elements of Trump. They might probably be more ambivalent. They're not to abortion. They're not exactly very pro-life, but they're not probably like one of those people that is going to yell, and show up to like a women's march or something like that. That's kind of the disconnect. But Trump kind of just toes the line perfectly in a way where he's able to go out there and give wins for the pro-lifers, but also not alienate voters in the Midwest, which are not exactly as anti-abortion as voters who are living in the Sun Belt or places like Georgia or North Carolina, because the Midwest has always been a little bit more secular. That's the way it's been. So, but and it's also why you see a polarization. That's why Iowa was a blue state, because Iowa, you have different religious demography than you have in a place like Oklahoma. Despite driving through both, it's like, driving through a cornfield, but one's voting, R plus 30, the other was voting D plus 8 till Trump came along. Now it's like, it's voting R plus 15 in Iowa now. And Selzer, your career's over and we'll never come back. So, yeah. Let's see, my question was hypothetical. So if the two were to match up in a neutral environment, how would the suburbs react? I don't know. I mean, probably you could say maybe they move a little bit to the left, but then the exurbs move a little bit to the right. It's tough to tell. A lot of people, if it just depends on turnout, who shows up. Top 5 Republican I had a list saved somewhere. There's plenty of them that I like. Not a lot of Democrat presidents that I like, though. I mean, James K. Polk is probably one of the few because of what he achieved with Manifest Destiny, and Trump wants to achieve it again. But there's plenty of presidents overall that, maybe I'll do another tier list. I can't name off the top of my head, even though I can name all the presidents off the top of my head. I don't have a set list. Eisenhower's Eisenhower was very good at the border. He's a moderate, but he did a good job with an actual, the first actual border crisis. Now we have another one. Now we need to go back to that. But yeah, another thing about Polk is that he was popular and he didn't run for a second term because he achieved everything he wanted or needed to achieve in his first term, which is another very admirable thing. Will Hegseth get confirmed? It's very possible. So we need one more super chat above 10 or above $9.99 for us to achieve our goal so we can stream again on Sunday. So whoever will be that last individual that'll help us meet our goal would be much appreciated. But we have 19 out of 20. I like the feature. I like the goal feature. But we have 651 people. If one person could come through, that would be huge because then we get to stream again. If not, we'll have to wait till Tuesday. We became a world superpower under McKinley and got the gold standard. Yeah, McKinley's underrated. Another one to perish in an assassination attempt. Virginia should not be our focus long term. We should be focusing on Minnesota and New Jersey. I mean, yeah, I agree about New Jersey. Minnesota's weird. I don't know if I would say that that's a number one priority. I mean, Trump did about as I expected. People thought that Tim Walz would help Harris in Minnesota. I said, yeah, it's not going to happen. It didn't happen. But the Twin Cities control the state. The exurbs aren't big enough. They're not red enough. They're very far left in the Minneapolis area. It usually takes a high third-party total for Republicans to go out there and win the state. Jared the American says, let's go rep. Well, thank you for that. Also, Alex S. for 10, we hit our goal. We're going to be streaming again on Sunday. So cheers, replace whatever you're drinking with Trump's choice of champagne. Well, he doesn't drink, so it'd have to be like one of those non-alcoholic champagnes you give a 5-year-old on New Year's Eve before he goes to bed at 7 o'clock or whatever time that 5-year-olds go to bed. But let's see. We hit our goal, so appreciate you, Alex. There will be another stream. There will be another goal next stream. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe it'll be a different setup for a goal. But either way, it's amazing and surreal to see Trump come back. And he's popular, he has a mandate, and he needs to act. But then Congress itself needs to act as well, because you can't squander this mandate. It's impressive. It was an impressive victory for Trump. And we'll see. Thomas Willingham says, who's least likely to get off? I believe you mean confirmed, and probably Tulsi Gabbard. I still think she'll get confirmed, but I've heard rumors that she's got issues getting confirmed. I think Hegseth will, but we'll see. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap up the stream. We hit 500 likes. I appreciate you guys for helping me hit that milestone, helping us hit our goal for the stream. And I will be back with another stream on Sunday night, probably after the games when they end. I'll be going live discussing the updates. We'll know our Super Bowl matchup as well, which you only get to know that once a year. And let's see, Michigan Nationalists is fired Dan Campbell and trade Goff and the New York Giants for... Yeah, that's not going to happen. Look, you have one bad game. Everybody wants to clean house. It's like, okay, you have a quarterback who's been to the Super Bowl. You have a coach that players want to play for. It was a bad game. It happens. You got to pick yourself up. It's disappointing, but that team went 15-2. It was one of the best regular seasons teams in history, to the point where I don't think you could sit here and say burn the house down over a bad game. I was worried about Washington. I mean, they don't do well against running quarterbacks, and you have a defense that's decimated. And it's like now you have something to rebuild. You go out there, get me some coordinators, get me some players in free agency. Players should want to come to Detroit. It was never the case. It was never the case until now. So take advantage of it, and it'll be all right. So, all right, guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up, and I will be back. I'll release a video tomorrow, and we'll stream on Sunday. So like the stream down below, subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss another video or stream. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle out.